So one of the things that I'm really aware of in our program is that there's a certain stage in our program where we talk about relationships. And the aspect of relationships is we talk about masculinity and femininity. And I know that for me, it's been a really significant thing in my life to have you come into the CRoP program, because you bring a really different and new and fresh perception, which not just includes the boys and their family, but it also includes the boys and their dads, but it also has reached right out into mothers and families and a way of bringing them right into the program.
And I think one of the things, because of my background, that I'm able to really highlight that that boys and dads don't exist in a vacuum of not having mothers and siblings and a family, a wider family context, and that what we're really about in CRoP is about healthy relationships, healthy family relationships. We're not only about a boy having an experience that is fundamental and influential in his development to become a young man, but seeing that in the context of the relationships that hold him, and in the relationships that surround him, and knowing that that those people, the mums, the dads, the siblings, the grandmothers, the aunts, uncles, are important for the whole family dynamic to be healthy and functional and enhancing of everybody.
And because a transformation in a young man doesn't exist in the moment, it's a thing that needs to be nurtured and encouraged, and the family is the first place that's going to nurture and encourage that. So it's sort of like that the inclusion of the feminine side has actually brings it more realness into the way a young man grows into the world that he's looking towards the future.
Yeah, and one of the things that has happened, I've been involved in CRoP for a long time, but I've never had the equality of place that I now have, and that you and I, in terms of holding and helping this program develop and grow, it's very much been men doing it, and my involvement being kind of as a side to that.
Periphery.
Yeah, and therefore the fact that we've been working closely together, and that we meet, separately and discuss things and discuss them at depth as well, and have the best interests of the family fundamental, so that everything that happens within that context is balanced. I think we've brought a lot of balance into the program that perhaps wasn't there before.
I agree, and they can edit this part out if they want, but I think that masculine and feminine principle that we bring together into the program is an energetic thing that was really needed. It's made a real difference. Yeah.
And I'll share with you something that happened only this week. In fact, I was talking to someone about the feminine and the masculine, and the idea of you can hold these two concepts, these two ideas. And we have in society, we have the dominance and subjugation in some ways, and this power can play out. But the ideal, and this is I think what we embody in terms of this program, is when they meet, and then they meet and they touch and they get to know each other and they get to kind of sense each other out, and then they kind of can not be tight and closed but open and offering, and then they can come into each other and they can work together. And we have the masculine and the feminine in each of us, and if we can get that balance within ourselves, then we can bring that balance to our relationships, and that's ideal.
And that's the model that we would like to portray to the young men, that they have to come together inside themselves and ultimately acknowledge their own masculinity, but also acknowledge their femininity, so that that balance is something they live into in life.
Yeah. Ho.
Down. And just one last thing that I think is worth mentioning is that we create, inside the whole conversation that we've talked about inside the community rites of passage, we create a special conversation. It's like, it's not a way of describing it, could be a sacred conversation, but it is, deep conversations don't necessarily just happen. There needs to be a container for which that they can be spoken in, a special place and a special acknowledgement by the people that are going to participate. So in some ways it gives practice to both the dads and the younger men to actually be aware of how to create that container and that safe space, so that when issues come up in everyday life in their families, they've got some practice and some wisdom around how to create a special conversation. Because special conversations don't just happen usually. At times they do, but if you really want to be in charge of your life, then knowing how to create a special place for a conversation to exist in is really important.
And I think that is part of the reason having each, the dads, the boys that in turn with experience for young men, and the mothers all being speaking the same language.
Absolutely.
So they know they understand and know what's going on.
Yeah, it's not suddenly weird.
Yeah, and can participate actively.
Hi.